Yes, people, welcome back to a brand new video on the channel. It's called 24-Hour Countdown, a show where we chat to an opposition fan 24 hours before our game week every single week. And this week, I've got Hal from the Sheffield United way, as we are playing Sheffield United away this weekend. Hal, how are you doing, my friend?
I'm very well, and thank you for having me on. Appreciate it.
Of course, man, of course. First of all, I want to get into a bit about Sheffield United, first of all, because you've just come up from the Championship. You did very well in the Championship last year, first of all. Congrats on that. You had a few of our players last year. You had James McAtee and Tommy Doyle. I think those of us like myself, City fans who maybe didn't watch the Championship as much last year, maybe if you could tell us a bit about McAtee and Doyle. I know Doyle was linked with a move back to Sheffield United, possibly. And McAtee, we turned down multiple bids from all sorts of clubs this summer. I think Pep has plans for him. So what did you think of them, I suppose, last season?
Oh, both were brilliant. Tommy Doyle probably more suited as a Sheffield United player because he gave us everything, which is all Blades fans ever want to see. He was dogged in the tackle, but he could also shoot from distance, as you might have seen against Blackburn Rovers. Just incredible athleticism, box to box, which I love. And fans just really took to Tommy Doyle straight away. McAtee, a bit more of a live wire. Maybe you could call him a bit more of a maverick, a luxury player, arguably, for certain teams. For us, he fit into the system really well. He definitely came into his own second half of the season and perhaps didn't initially start as strongly as Tommy. But I think if I was Paul Heckingbottom, I'm trying to think which one he'd prefer. Probably McAtee, because we've possibly now got enough midfielders that are similar to Tommy Doyle, but McAtee is something special. And on his day, he really can turn a game. He can make something happen from nothing. And we need creativity. So I wouldn't be surprised to see McAtee back at beautiful downtown Bramall Lane on loan before the window slams shut.
I was going to ask you that based off what you saw last season. What do you think McAtee's ceiling is? I watched a good bit of him in our own preseason, and he was excellent in one of the games. I think it was against Yokohama Marinos. He was absolutely excellent. He looked right at home. I can see why Pep likes McAtee. Really controlled the midfield, dictated the flow of play at times. Didn't look phased by the fact that he was, with all due respect, going from playing for Sheffield United up to treble-winning Manchester City. He looked like he really was in his zone. How far do you think McAtee could go? Do you think maybe a move back to Sheffield United would suit him? Do you think he's ready to take the step up to Manchester City or another Premier League club?
It's a great question. Personally, obviously, I'm being selfish. I'd love to see him back at Bramall Lane because we like him and he lit up Bramall Lane on his day. But you almost just described it there because you saw him play a couple of times in pre-season and you say in one game he was really good. Well, that's kind of what we saw. We saw games where he would really grab it and it would be the McAtee show. And there's other games where he'd drift in and out. And that's often the case with players that are live wires and that can make things happen. So I understand that. Whereas Tommy Doyle would almost be a kind of consistent player every single time. You never saw Tommy Doyle have a poor game, and sometimes you just wouldn't see him have a great game, but you'd never ever see him have anything other than a good game. So Tommy Doyle's definitely a very reliable midfielder, but I think probably with Doyle I could see him, and I don't mean this in any way disrespectful because I think Tommy Doyle's wonderful and I would love him to sign for Sheffield United permanently, but I see him maybe playing mid-range Premiership, lower half Premiership. And I think McAtee's ceiling is higher, but that's not to say that because they're different players. It's not to say he's a better player. I just think the way that he plays the game means he possibly can go further. And I wouldn't be surprised to see McAtee either go out on loan again, which I think he should this season, but certainly either stay at Manchester City and get bit parts to then prove what he can do. Because I think he's similar in a sense that Cole Palmer is a player that you'd arguably want to give more minutes to. He might be starting to show you that he's the real deal. Or if you're not going to give McAtee meaningful minutes, yeah, absolutely give him one more season out on loan, but I think next season he'll be ready.
I'm a big fan of McAtee, and quite clearly Pep is too, by the fact that he's turned down some pretty substantial bids to let him go out permanently. But I think it's fair to say, with the amount of competition we have in those areas of the pitch, it's going to be hard for both of them. But I think Pep views McAtee as more of a prospect. But listen, they're two to keep an eye on anyway. I'm sure you'd like to have either or both of them back. But I want to ask you a bit about life in the Premier League. You're back in the Premier League. I'm sure you're buzzing about that, no doubt. You've had a bit of a rough start. Crystal Palace and Nottingham Forest was, I believe, wasn't it? You lost both the first two games. How have you found it? Do you think the team is maybe just adjusting to Premier League? Has it been a bit of a shock to the system, or how do you feel about it in general, I suppose?
Not buzzing to be back. Sheffield United fans hate the Premier League. We hate everything it stands for. We hate VAR. We hate diving. We hate cheating. We hate the refereeing. We hate it all. We hate the razzmatazz. We hate Sky moving games. We want Saturday, 3 o'clock. That's it. Don't mess with my
I
football.
respect that.
We
I
hate
respect
it.
that.
We hate it. We hate modern football, really. We love the Championship. I reckon if you ask most Sheffield United fans, we'd want to win the Championship and stay in the Championship. But we're there now. No, it's not something that we are surprised about. We've been in the Premier League very recently. It's a lot of the same players that have finished ninth in the Premier League in 2019-20. We knew exactly what we had to do. What we didn't know was that we were going to lose Iliman Ndiaye because Marseille came in for him. And I tell you now, if Man City had come in for Iliman Ndiaye, Barcelona, Real Madrid, he's still at Sheffield United. But because Marseille came in and that is his boyhood club, that's the only team he was ever going to sign for. So we didn't see that coming. We perhaps should have done. I'd love him to have signed a contract a lot sooner because he said he was going to sign one and then changed his mind, and that's absolutely his prerogative. But I'd love it if he'd signed a contract earlier and then we could have got some real money for him because he's impossible to replace with the cash we did get. And we didn't see Sander Berge signing for relegation rivals Burnley. Those two things really caught us off guard. So that is why we've started slowly and very poorly against two teams. I know you said they're tough starts. You're looking on paper, that's Crystal Palace at home and Forest away. That's games we've got to be getting points from.
Yeah, I would think if you want to hold that much hope of surviving another season in the Premier League, particularly the home ones, I always find if it's the exact same, even when you're fighting for a title, which we've been fortunate enough to do for many years now, that we need to make the Etihad a fortress. We need to make the Etihad an intimidating place to come, not somewhere you'll come easily and get points. And I'd say you'd feel the same about Bramall Lane. But what are your expectations for the season? I always find it interesting talking to fans of clubs who've just come up from the Championship. Some of them come with major optimism. I spoke to a good few Burnley fans. They feel they could do something special this season. Luton, obviously, I don't think they hold much hope because it's kind of a minor miracle that they are here in the first place. But Sheffield United, a club obviously with plenty of experience in the Premier League, and they know what it's like to be there. What kind of hope do you hold for this season? Is it just a matter of surviving? Do you plan to, or would you like to move up the table? Do you think there's any shocks in the cards?
I think because of the factors I've mentioned, so we are missing Iliman Ndiaye, not just our best player, but the best player I've ever seen play for Sheffield United. That's huge. And as I said, impossible to replace him. So that's really knocked the wind out of a lot of our sails. And I think with him, we were all thinking, we can survive. 17th, no problem. It's going to be a lot harder. But we brought in a fair few players, looking like about 8, maybe 9 players by the close of the window. And, when you're picking 11, that's a lot of changes. It's going to be very hard for that team to gel. We saw Nottingham Forest bring in a lot of players last season. It took them a while to get going, but they eventually did, and they survived. That is my hope. That is what we have to try and emulate. I don't know how Forest survived last season. All the metrics, all the stats suggested they should have gone down. But perhaps there's 3 teams that are going to be worse than us. And really, the time to ask me this question is after we've played Everton, because Everton looked turd this season. And if we can beat them, which we're playing right after Man City at home, I'll be confident that there will be 3 teams worse than us. And I know you think Luton, for them, maybe a free hit. One thing I will say about Luton is Jay Sokic, I always pronounce his surname incorrectly. He's been behind their analytics and their recruitment. And the reason I mention him is he's a Sheffield United fan, and he's one of us in terms of content creators that's now gone into the real world of football. Wow. He's like lived the dream that we all have aspired to. And Jay's now working at Luton. And what he's done behind the scenes and brought players in has got them to where they are. So we're really proud of Jay, and we all want Luton in a weird way to kind of do well. It'd be great if we could both survive.
Congratulations to Jay. That is actually quite the story. It's
he's top guy.
As you said,
he's on Football Manager now.
No, he's living the dream, man. We all dream of doing something like that at some point, but not many of us get to do it, unfortunately. But I suppose moving on to the biggest fixture of the weekend, Manchester City, Sheffield United in Bramall Lane. I want to get your thoughts going into this game. I would imagine you think it's probably one of, if not the toughest fixture of the season. But I want to get a gauge of how you feel about it going into this one.
It's not the toughest game of the season. That's Manchester City away. It's going to be the second toughest fixture of the season. And I think because of all that's gone on in the pre-season, we've been left so short, so late. We're playing kids. We've got a striker up front, Will Asula. We've got a lot of hopes for him, but he shouldn't be put in this situation. He's never scored a goal, and we're relying on him to score the goals, and that's not right, and that's not how we should be looking in the Premier League. We are weaker now than we were when we finished the Championship last season, significantly weaker. When we had Sanderberger, we had Iliman Ndiaye, we had McAtee, we had Doyle. So it is tough. We've also got serious injuries. Rhian Brewster is out forever. Who knows? We've got Reece Norrington-Davis, who should have been at the World Cup, a wonderful defender who is out. We've lost Jack O'Connell now. He's had to retire from the game. One of the reasons that we finished ninth in the Premier League in 1920. Ollie McBurney struggling, our top scorer last season. We are in no fit shape for this. Jayden Bogle out injured, crucial. George Baldock, as I speak, probably out injured. That means we have no one who can play right wing back, a crucial role for Sheffield United as we play that three at the back overlapping centre backs and wing back system. Well, we don't have the wing backs at the moment. Max Lowe has not looked good at all. So we are in poor form, in bad shape, players playing out of position, players that shouldn't be playing, and we're having to face a team that did all right last season. So I am not confident, not hopeful, and I think whatever happens really early on in the game will dictate how this game finishes. And I think if Man City score early, the crowd will just go flat, and unfortunately, I think it could be a cricket score.
Ooh, I'd be happy with that. I'd take a cricket score, get the goal difference up on that. But I'm going to run the line with this game that I ran with our Burnley game a couple of weeks ago as well. And from the outside looking in, and clearly from your lack of confidence as well, people think it's just going to be a rollover, a walkover. We'll steamroll Sheffield United, and I don't look at it that way. I'm always very cautious of the teams coming up from the Championship, especially in the early stages of the season, because it's essentially a free hit. Everyone expects Manchester City to beat Sheffield United. Everyone expects Man City to beat Burnley. You don't have to play with any shackles on, I suppose. You don't have to play with any pressure. No one's expecting you to get anything. So the players that do play for you this weekend, they can kind of go and express themselves and just have a go. And as a Sheffield United fan, I don't know, do you go to the games? You said you're in Cyprus before we went live there, but those that go to the games, I'd just be saying, let's just turn up the volume, let's get it noisy, and let's just try and get in Man City's heads, because we have absolutely nothing to lose here, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I know what you mean. And I will be going to loads of games this season. I'm just saving up. Now it's the school holidays. It cost me $1,000 to fly back. So I'm just waiting till the kids go back, and then I'm headed back. And I did go last season to the FA Cup semi-final against Manchester City. Now you look at that game, apart from Doyle and McAtee, that was our strongest 11. And that's when we were riding the crest of a wave and we were on form, and we got spanked. So now you put into the equation everything I've told you, and you can see why I'm not super confident. But I hear what you're saying, and maybe if we play very defensive and try and hit Man City on the counter, we'll get beaten. So why not have a go? And why not attack Man City? Because we're going to lose probably anyway. Let's make it more entertaining for the fans, because football's about entertainment. Why not throw some of our youngsters in? Because we've actually got some really talented youngsters. Sheffield United always produce quality youngsters that then go on to form the spine of the England side. We've got more coming through. We always will. Louis Marsh, a name to remember. He just keeps scoring hat-tricks for the academy. Maybe give him 20 minutes at the end of this game and see what he can do. Because you're right, we've got nothing to lose. This is a free hit. Everton isn't. Everton we need to get right, and we need to be tactically spot on, and we can make no errors, Max Lowe. But this game, a lot of fans are going along thinking, let's see. But we're not having huge hopes.
I thought you guys were somewhat impressive in that semi-final that day. I thought, it was a Riyad Mahrez hat-trick, if I remember correctly.
We had one shot, and it was in the first few seconds. And I said, I was on Football Focus before, and I said, I'll be happy with a shot on target. We had that shot on target after the first few seconds, and I could have left because that was it. That was all we had.
No, I thought you were somewhat impressive, at least defensively. I don't think you were. I think you defended against us better than some teams did in the Premier League across the season. But what you spoke about,
we did do well, yeah, in defence. You're absolutely right. And actually, when we played you in the Premier League at Bramall Lane and Kyle Walker scored, you had 16 shots that day, and again we only had one on target. So very similar. We kept it down to 1-0 that day, but it's the same. You lose 3-0 in the Cup semi-final, you lose 1-0 in the Premier League. You've lost. We need to score a meaningful goal against Manchester City. I'll take that. That's what I want. It's been a long time since we scored a league goal against Manchester City. I think it was the year 2000. Wow. 1-0, we beat Man City in a league game. Because in a league, we beat you in the FA Cup in 2008, but in the league, we've been in then Division 1 Championship. Michael Brown scored, and we just signed him from Manchester City. So even when we beat Man City, he was a Man City player, basically, that did it.
To give you a bit of idea, I was a year old when that happened, so I can't really say that I remember that one vividly, but I'm glad you do. But yeah, the thing with these kind of games is, like we already said, and we kind of agree that it's a free hit for you. No one's expecting you to get anything, which is why I would be fearful if you came out more and tried to go toe to toe with us. I find the
Yeah,
team that play with no fear, like I said, they've nothing to lose, but they decide they're going to come out and have a go. If you set up in a defensive
agreed.
shape, 11 men in the 18-yard box, I'm kind of going, we'll have a goal or two and we'll all call it a day, and that'll be that. But the teams that actually come and have a pop and try and meet us in the middle, like Southampton have got stuff off us multiple times in recent years doing that, and Crystal
Yeah,
Palace have as well. Newcastle, I know they're better than they were, but even in recent years, they've decided to play with no fear and just go and meet us. It's a high risk, high reward game. You could get absolutely thumped 5-6-0. But sometimes on that random day, you may just get a point or beat Manchester City if we're
exactly.
not on our game. So that's what I'd be saying if I was the Sheffield United manager this Sunday.
You know what? The Southampton example is actually what I was thinking of. And it's exactly it. Because yeah, Saints, the way they did it when I saw them against Man City, it was like, yeah, this is a team that's actually doing something that City weren't expecting. And you're right. We could play Manchester City 100 times, and we'll probably lose or not win 99 of them. But there will be that one time when we do something that maybe come out the blocks quickly, surprise Manchester City, nick a goal, and then you can maybe play your backs to the wall defensive game, and you might just hold out for a famous 1-0. We've done it before against Arsenal at Bramall Lane more than once. We could maybe do that this time. Now, you're right, it's high risk because, of course, if you go all guns blazing against Manchester City early on, you could easily get picked off because City technically have the players that can just keep the ball, ping it around you, and you basically are watching Sheffield United exercise while Manchester City play football. That could happen as well. So it is high risk, but at the moment, I don't think we've got a lot to lose.
Yeah, you can kind of take the risk because of the fixture that it is. But looking at your team, I know you listed off a lot of players that are injured, and basically your squad you're not quite altogether happy with going into this game. But with who is available, who should I be looking out for as a Man City fan? What kind of players do you think could possibly threaten us? Do you have any solid defenders? I'm a fan of John Egan, by the way. As an Irishman, I like John Egan a lot. Very good for our international team. How's he getting on? And attacking wise, is there anybody that could put our defense under any pressure?
Well, John Egan's having a really poor start to the season. He's been our worst defender, and
Oh no, that's not what
normally
I
so
want
reliable.
to hear.
He's so good. He's so reliable. We all love John Egan. He is the reason that we are called Sheffield United Way, because he wrote the song when we were promoted, playing proper football, the Sheffield United Way.
Wow.
So we adore John Egan. But at the moment, every Sheffield United fan that would watch this will agree with me. He's been poor. We need him to get back to being John Egan because he's our captain. Maybe the addition of the captain soundman is weighing heavy because it's since Billy Sharp has left, he's the captain. So Billy Sharp scores goals, but we don't have him anymore. John Fleck always plays well against Man City. He is definitely out injured. Anel Ahmedhodzic is a very, very good defender, and he can also score goals as well. His idol is Zlatan Ibrahimovic, and he's a centre-back. So that gives you an idea of how confident Anel is. We've had him on our channel, and we asked him what we can expect from him for the rest of the season. He said goals. So he is a centre-back that can score goals, as is Austin Trusty, who we've signed from Arsenal, who was on loan at Birmingham City last season, one of the top scorers in the Championship as a defender, and he got goals from set pieces. So watch out, set pieces. You've got 50 pence piece head John Egan, or you've got Anel and Trusty, who might be able to nick a goal. But that's if Trusty starts, because Jack Robinson has actually been playing so well. He might keep him out. Although personally, I'd like to see Trusty play left wing back, because I've not been overly convinced by Max Lowe ever, but certainly not at the start of this season. And Ben Osborne is probably our other left wing back, going to have to play right wing back, even though he's very, very left footed. And we've also got Larouci, who we've signed from Troyes in France. I can't really say that name right.
Nice.
Who used to play for Liverpool's you've set up. But he's also been kind of hit and miss. Pre-season, miss. But other than that, I would say Gustavo Hamer. Keep an eye on him.
Yeah, I saw he score. I think he scored your only goal so far this season, Hamer, hasn't he?
That's right. Yeah, and what a goal. But that's the reason I'm saying that, because I've only seen that from him against Forest. That's because that's the only time he's played for us. So I've seen him play for us once, and I'm picking him. That says where we are.
Well, maybe you'll make some new heroes this weekend. Hopefully not, says me, but you know, you never know with these kind of games. So listen, before we wrap up, it's tradition. I'm going to have to get your score prediction, Hal. Do you hold much hope? Are you going to go put your neck on the line, or how's it look for you?
Well, it's some neck, and oh man, I hate doing. People who watch Sheffield United away know I usually refuse, and I hate doing score predictions because I don't ever like doing a prediction against Sheffield United. I'm the eternal optimist, but you can hear the start of this season and pre-season has really taken it out of me. I've been so unimpressed. My head says 4-0 City, and my heart says, like I said to you earlier, if we come out of the blocks all guns blazing, nothing to lose, nick one, backs to the wall, grind out one of famous great days at beautiful downtown Bramall Lane, nick it 1-0. That's also what I said before the semi-final as well. I was made to look a bit silly, obviously, that day. But, you know, realistically, 4-0 City. And we never really get beaten heavily by anyone. So that really would be a turn-up for the Bucks.
Wow, 4-0 City. I'll be absolutely buzzing with that. And with no Kevin De Bruyne and that kind of thing, you know, not too much creativity flowing right now. Who knows? But listen, Hal says 4-0 City. If you guys want my full prediction for this game, make sure to check out my full preview with Jordan tonight. It'll be either at 7 or 8 o'clock, and we'll do our full preview, predicted 11, and give our score predictions there. But listen, for now, Hal, it's been an absolute pleasure chatting to you. We'll do it again later in the season. Do you want to tell the guys where they can find you? Tell us about your channel and that.
Yeah, Sheffield United Way YouTube channel and podcast, former Football Content Award winners. Probably won't win it ever again. Now we're in the Premier League, a little bit easier in the Football League. But do check us out. We've got interviews with former players, some that have played for Manchester City, as well as the interview with our current owner, as well as match previews, match reactions, and all the stuff you'd expect from a fan channel.
There you go, people. Go over and check that out. Show love to Hal's channel and make sure you let them know that City Extra sent you over. We appreciate all of our guests that come on to chat to us, so go over and make sure you show your appreciation too. Please, if you would, before you click off, smash a quick like on the video. Show some more support. Brand new concept on the channel here. We want to get more great guests on like Hal for each game week. And subscribe to the channel if you're new. We're on the road to 100K, the big 100K, and all of your support massively helps. And we'll see you with some brand new content very soon. See you in a bit.